Mostly come at night. Mostly.
Welcome back, listeners, viewers. Thanks for venturing back so soon. This is episode 5. I had a bit of a creative surge this week. I love to do this. I love discussing movies. I love hanging out with my friend John and discussing them. Say hi, John.
Hi, John.
So I took a good look this week at our previous episodes of Movie Time with the Boys and started to think of ways that we can improve it for the listener, for you guys. We're two pretty busy guys, but I can at least speak for myself when I say doing this podcast is like a real highlight for me. So we're going to keep this going as long as we can, as long as we enjoy it. Maybe you'll notice some changes this week and bear with us while we iron things out and play around with new ideas while we find our feet. Anyway, now that the mushy stuff's out the way, how are you in the 5 days since we saw each other's faces last, John?
Yeah, good, I think. What happened? When did we last speak? Was it last Saturday or last Sunday?
Literally 6 days ago, last Sunday.
Oh, geez, okay. Yeah, I was ill. I had a bit of like flu cold thing Labor Day, which sucked. Always love a day off being ill. And Tuesday. And then, yeah, just worked. Nothing too special, mate. No crazy stories. Yourself?
Same, mate. I'm good. Creative juices are flowing, but other than that, just work. And
you might want to get that scene too, mate.
Welcome to the Romulus space station.
This place gives me the creeps. What the hell is this?
I don't know.
What the fuck was that? Young?
Stop playing around, man. Just get up.
I'm not playing around. There's something in the water.
What do you mean there's something in
I
the
don't know.
water?
There's just something in the fucking water.
This week for episode 5, we have the absolute pleasure of breaking down Fede Alvarez's Alien Romulus. It turns out a few listeners are pretty excited too when I put the request out for our elevator review time, which is a new section we're going to be working on. And we had a good few submissions. One particular submission really caught my attention, and I thought you need to hear it, John, before we go any further on this podcast.
I think I know where it is, and I've been wanting to hear it, so please play it for me.
Without further ado, I present Kevin Sims, aka the Weviest, who insisted on reviewing the movie before he'd even seen it. Sounded intriguing to me, so we'll give it a go. Here it is.
All right. Hey, the boys. Long-time listener, first-time caller. I didn't see Romulus, but I don't know. Let's give it a shot. So first things first. The aliens, they're back, and they're gooier than ever. Those gooey pricks are just, they look really damp in this one, which is one of the reasons to see this movie. I liked the ambiance. I liked the ship. The ship was good. However, I didn't like the little jumpy guys, and I didn't like how often I had to watch someone in the cast fillet a little jumpy guy in a close-up, okay? I mean, if you're attacked by a jumpy guy, if you pucker your lips around their little dongle, then I'm sorry, you're not resisting. You're blowing that alien. I don't make the rules. Wow. At the end, that was really scary. What was that thing? Wasn't expecting that. I didn't like the cast. I think they did a good job of acting scared, but I don't expect to see any of them in anything else ever again. And if I do, I certainly won't remember them. All in all, it's a decent movie that does good things like nailing the art style of the franchise and being a thrilling scarefest. And the worst part, as it has been for a while, is paying $20 to see a movie one time in theaters. Okay, that's my review of a movie that I have not seen, but I'm sure I absolutely nailed. Love the show, guys. Love the show, the boys. Keep it up.
Yeah, thanks, Kev. I thought Kevin was weirdly accurate.
Yeah, he's fairly spot on with most of it. Apart from the cast, I enjoyed the cast, but we'll touch on it.
Yeah, other than the cast. I should probably mention we're going to try to do the first at least 10-15 minutes of this episode spoiler-free, just so it gives people something to listen to if they haven't seen the movie yet. All right, John, without spoilers, the best you can, let's hear your opinion on Alien Romulus.
So, Alien Romulus, not being a fan of the Alien franchise or anything at all. Jokes. I adore Alien. I love everything to do with Alien. I know that both you and I are in the minority here of loving Prometheus and Alien Covenant. Overall, I love the Alien franchise, so I was going into this with my movie boner being strong. And for me, it lived up to it. I really, really enjoyed this film. I thought it was a great addition to the franchise. It played well into the other films. It converged a lot of the storylines from 1 to Prometheus Covenant. It all kind of got in there together. Just really enjoyed it. It was a fantastic addition to the franchise. What about you? How did you get on with it?
Out of all the movies, all 5 that we have reviewed so far, this one definitely tickled my movie bone the most.
Nice.
I loved it, man. When I first saw the trailer for it, I didn't know what to expect. I was like, oh, they're just going to churn out another Alien movie. It's going to be a Resurrection or whatever. Full disclosure, I haven't ever seen Resurrection or Alien 3. I know.
Okay. We'll talk
and
about
I realized
it.
that. I realized that before I'd seen this, and I was like, I should probably watch those in prep for like eventually reviewing this. I haven't seen them. Like Alien 1 and 2 of my favorite movies ever. Prometheus, loved. Covenant, loved a little less, but still loved it. I thought they did great expanding the story.
Don't you like Fassbender on Fassbender action?
Yeah, always good. To get to Romulus, though, I didn't have the biggest expectations until I saw the multiple trailers before going in. Then I was like, okay, I'm super excited. I thought from the very first shot, the very first music, I felt like we were home with the Alien franchise. Just more than Prometheus, more than Covenant. When you hear that first little theme tune, that whatever it is, I'm not going to try to recreate it here. It gave me, it tingled my spine, man. And just how the movie looked on that dark planet at the start, without spoiling, it's really hard to not spoil here. The fact they chose to go back to practical effects, well, a blend of practical and CGI, was amazing. The film gave a real 80s vibe. The cast and crew was incredible. I've heard a few criticisms, which I somewhat agree with, but overall, it just was more than I expected, and I really enjoyed this movie. Okay, guys, so from this point onwards, I'm not sure how long it will have been in the edit, but from this point onwards, it's going to be a spoilery episode. So if you haven't seen Alien Romulus, we urge you to go see it. It's amazing. Go see it, come back, listen to or watch our review.
Or just carry on listening and get spoiled.
All right, John, I think there's going to be plenty, but tell me what you liked about Alien Romulus.
Everything. Things that you've already touched upon, like how it felt like an 80s sci-fi movie. It had that kind of darkness and grain to it. That like the way it was shot was beautiful. It has that tension to it. It's great. I know some of the criticisms that people brought up of how it's very like similar to Alien and how it's like kind of beat for beat along these kind of movies, but I loved it. I thought it was great in that kind of regard. You know, you kind of expected what was coming in certain parts, but I thought it was shot beautifully. I thought the cast was great. David Johnson, who played Andy, absolutely phenomenal. Like,
yeah,
disgustingly good. Disgustingly good. If that guy doesn't fucking go massive from this, I don't know what's wrong.
I felt so bad for him at the start there.
Oh, 100%, yeah. When he becomes, as is tradition in an Alien movie, a bad android, he just flips and he's a complete different character. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this guy is good at playing two different types of people. This guy's good at his job.
I really don't know how I didn't see him being an android coming until the first little bit where he gets beat outside and is bleeding the milk. I remember even in the original Aliens, when Bishop gets killed and he bleeds a lot of milk, I was like, oh, because I was too young at the time. I was like, oh, he's a robot. He's an android. It took me so long to realize these things. And same with Andy. Like, it took me longer than it should have to realize, oh, this guy's an android.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah.
I think coming into it with the pretext of it being an alien film and knowing there's going to be an android, I think I was just like, that guy's the android. Straight from the bat. Just looking for like every bit of the franchise that they're holding on to. He was fantastic. David Johnson, absolutely phenomenal in it. Scarily good. Story was fantastic. I love how it fits perfectly in between Alien and Aliens. The design on the creatures always fantastic. Admittedly, the finale creature was weird as fuck.
I did not like it.
No?
Yeah. I didn't like it in a way that I am terrified and I never want to see it again. I loved it as a villain, but my God, we can get to that.
Yeah, it looked fantastic. Story was great. Some phenomenal shots in there with the whole anti-gravity and camera spinning on them I loved.
Yeah, let's maybe talk about that scene for a second, because that just seems like a stroke of genius. So basically, listener, we're talking about the scene where Rain ends up blasting the aliens and the blood is flying everywhere. And because it's acidic, if it sinks to the bottom, it's going to burn a hole through the ship and a vacuum into space, killing everyone. So they do this scene where they play with the gravity. And there's I think it's like a couple of minutes, right, where they can float around, and then everything will drop to the ground, and then after a few seconds, there'll be no gravity again. For me, that scene was incredible. Like, where did that come from? I felt like a video game scene.
It was great. I really enjoyed that scene. There was obviously like some kind of pretext to it before, because they build upon the anti-gravity on the ship when they first go on, and they use some great shots in there as well, like where the camera spins on them while they're in the first anti-gravity scene.
Yeah.
Funny you should say about video game though, is because Fede Alvarez quote Alien Isolation as a big inspiration for this as well. Have you played that game at all?
Guess who hasn't played it?
So guess who like bought the Ultimate Special Edition because he loves aliens, and only played about an hour and a half because I got too scared. I really want to go back and play that game, but it is terrifying.
What else you got for what you liked?
I loved the opening planet, down on the mining planet. It was very dark and dystopian and very Wayland Newtony, terrible
so
future.
Depressing.
Super depressing.
Very Blade Runner, I've heard people compare it to as well.
Yeah, I heard a very similar thing as well, where they were saying it's like that, but that's like a whole kind of dystopian future again, isn't it? But even though it's not that far in the future from us now, which is quite worrying.
Yeah.
The use of like the laser floor thing again, which was in Aliens, loved it. Super good. It brought back all the nostalgia. Like they did it with the music as well. They used themes from Alien, Aliens, Prometheus. They used like old music tracks from everything. They even had imagery stuff from Alien Isolation in it as well. So there's a lot of fan service in there, and I was there for it. How about you? What did you enjoy? What tickled your movie bone?
I enjoyed the entire fucking thing, for a start. There wasn't like a lull for me. Like usually in a movie, even in the best movies, there's like a lull where it's like, oh, this is kind of it's dragging on a bit. And it was like 12 o'clock by the time it was coming to an end, and I was just hooked the entire time. Actually, half the time in my seat, I was like this, like cringing. Steph was like asleep on my arm at that point, but I was like cringing because and I felt myself doing it. I was like, holy shit, this movie. I really loved, and I found the term for it actually. I didn't know this was a term. I don't know if they coined it for this, but the cassette futurism. Meaning the tech that they kept the same, all analog tech but futurized. Yeah. Which just looked incredible. And when they asked Fede Alvarez, like, well, did they ask him or did they ask maybe Ridley Scott why they didn't use that in Prometheus? He says because Prometheus is the Wayland Corporation and they're richer, so they have better technology. Yeah. They're like the Apple of tech, right? So it was just really cool how they kept that. That was the first thing that I noticed where I was like, okay, this is going to be amazing. Yeah. Kept all these things the same, the screens, the little analog controls. Love that. Absolutely loved that. I really liked David Johnson, as you did. I liked Kaylee Spaney as well, who appears on this podcast again after Civil War. Apparently she's been in a ton of things, which I wasn't aware of. She was great again. She's just killing it.
Yeah, she's doing great.
Yeah. I really enjoyed some of the foreshadowing they did with the pregnant character, Kay. But that was like a really cool little progression that you could tell that was going to, when you hear about it at the start, that she's pregnant, you'd tell it's going to come back into it at some point.
Oh,
and
100%.
Oh boy, did it come back. real big.
A big boy.
Yeah. I liked the throwbacks. There was a couple in particular that I didn't. And that scene where the ship is rising up from the mining planet, the sound is like, it just gets in your brain. It was so loud, the movie.
Yeah.
Like,
It was crazy loud, yeah.
it was almost like uncomfortably loud at some points, but that's not a bad thing for me. I think it just really immersed me.
Yeah.
Just the overall premise of the movie, like the plot, I thought was really well done. There wasn't much I would have changed, honestly. All right, so there's very few for me, but John, let's talk about things that didn't work so well for you, things you didn't like.
Okay, so it's what mostly people are shitting about on this film is bringing back Ian Holm. I think bringing him back was fine. I'm totally fine with that. I thought that was great. Just some of the CGI on him didn't work for me. He looked a bit shit in places.
People said it looks like a Snapchat filter, and as soon as they said that, I couldn't shake it. I was like,
Yeah.
it totally does.
That's fair. Yeah, when they showed him like on the TV screen when they were talking him throughout the ship, I think it looked fucking brilliant. When they had the normal close up on him and not through the grainy monitor, it looked a bit shit. Sounded great and looked good. It's just still that weird kind of uncanny valley that they haven't got just yet, is it?
Yeah, I've heard a few people say that it would have been way better if they just like messed up his face and just had him like wear some kind of like half mask, so they could have disguised some of the AI a little, because it looked very not great, which is surprising because the rest of the film looks so good. So
like the practical effects they use, and even some of the CGI, like most of the CGI looks great as well, because obviously when there's hundreds of facehuggers crawling through the hallway, that's CGI. That's not all practical, is it? So it looks great in places. It's just, I think that one just kind of pissed everyone off a little bit. Other than that, like that was the only thing that kind of pissed me off in places. It wasn't enough to take me out of it. I was like, oh, that looks a bit stupid, but like they didn't linger on it too much.
There was that scene in, I'm not sure which Alien movie it was, I think it was Aliens, where Ripley is reviving Bishop and his face is all kind of like fucked up. I feel like they could have done that with Ian Holm's character. It just seemed like a poor choice to go the AI route with him. Although I will say fans were screaming about how disrespectful it was, but Fede Alvarez did say he reached out to Ian Holm's family and they were like, it's totally fine. Do what you need to do.
Yeah. No, I get that. And like, it's, they do it with things like these where they recreate certain things. They didn't have to. They could have done another AI because he's not the same character as from Aliens. He's the same synthetic, but he's not the same character. So they could have done something else. But it's just, again, another one of the callbacks just to keep all us fan nerds happy.
It took me a minute to realize he was just the same synthetic under a different name. Because I was like, Ruck, I don't remember him being called Ruck. He was Ash, right?
Ash in the original.
So that kind of confused me for a minute, but I will say during that scene when they first go into that room and you see him laid in the corner and you don't see his face, I was like, that's that guy.
Oh, 100%.
I knew it right away.
The light blue shirt and the white thing is the science officer colors from Alien. I'm like, yeah, cool, that's him.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing that pissed me off, like, even though I'm just, I'm saying that Ian Holm, everything else was fine, that a lot of the callbacks were super good and like, obviously cheesy in places as they are with these kinds of fan service, but it was this one bit of fan service that just really just did not fucking hit it for me.
I know what you're gonna
say. Which is super annoying because it's the same thing for you. So when Andy, David Johnson, who's been fantastic throughout, he says a line and it looks like even he doesn't want to fucking say that line. So he does the infamous line of "Get away from her, you bitch," but it's just so bad. It's thrown in there as I said, like fan service, but you can see even him. He's like, "Get away from her, you bitch." You're like, it just doesn't fit.
Yeah, I think my issue with it is that it doesn't fit with his character.
No.
Like if they had done, and it's the gap they leave in it. It's like, get away from her, you bitch. I feel like if they just didn't put in the you bitch part and just had get away from her, it would have worked.
Yeah, I remember I giggled while I was in the cinema there. I was like, that was dumb. I was like, I see what you did there. A lot of it, I was throughout the movie, I was doing the, oh, yeah, I know that. But then that was just like, oh, fucking shut up.
Yeah, and you could feel it coming as well. Like during that scene, I don't know. They just didn't need to do that. That was pretty silly. Okay, John, there's things we liked, things we didn't like. I want to know if there's any scenes that really stood out to you.
Yeah, so there was a earlier scene, one of the first ones when we see the face huggers when the two English lads get caught in the room. And there's something in the water. It's in the water. Love that scene.
I'm not joking. Something in the water.
I saw it. It was in the water. It's moving in the water.
Nailed it.
Really enjoyed that scene, not just for the water, but because it's when Andy, when they stick the bad beans in Andy, and he does that fucking stare up to the cigar. How would you explain it? Science, man.
Yeah, I like that. I like that term. We'll use that from now on.
So he put the bad beans in Andy, and then he does that weird fucking head tilt back, and like the eyes roll up, and then you see the Wayland Yutani logo on the eyes. I thought that was.
Oh, you do? I didn't see that.
Yeah. So when they put the bad beans in, and his head goes up and his eyes roll back, it's got the Wayland Yutani on comes on his eyes. Then.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's cool. And then all shit breaks loose. There's lots of horrible bastards, the facehuggers, trying to make love to your sweet, sweet mouth. And then Andy comes around as now knowing everything because he's a badass science officer instead and does the whole grab the facehugger by the tail. You're like, it's pretty badass.
Yeah.
I enjoy that scene. And there's something in the water.
Yeah, it's very cool. Okay, I think at this point we need to talk about that final scene because it was... Honestly, I loved it. It was Alien does this thing where there's always a fourth act, and you expect it, but you never expect it to go off the rails as much as it does. And when I say off the rails, I don't mean like it's shit. I mean like it just escalates even further. So the final scene, do you want to take us through that?
Isabella Merced, her character Kay, as it happens in Alien movies, is pregnant and then has unfortunately injected herself with the black goop that we've seen from Prometheus and so on.
Oh yeah, hold up. That was a bold decision. We didn't talk about that. That was a weird one.
What was bold?
Just injecting yourself with random black goo that you find in a spacecraft.
That's because they see the Rain and Andy see the video of them injecting the dead rat with the black goo, and then he comes back to life, and he's like, "Oh, he's all healed," because that's the whole Wayland Yutani thing, is where they tried to find a cure for life to last longer, because to prolong life, because everyone's dying, so on, and there's every cycle there's a new disease. So yeah, they see the rat get injected with the good beans, and they're like, "Oh, cool! It helps people. It brings them back to life." And then obviously they go away, but as the screen is still rolling, you see the rat turn into a giant squid monster. So it turns out the good beans are bad beans. In knowing that, they still think it's good beans, so Andy tries to inject her originally, saying, "Use this, it'll help you," when he's a bad robot. But Rain stops him, and then she's taking the things because she's trying to escape. And she's like, "Oh, run, take this, blah, 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 blah." And then because she gets a bit beat up and she falls or something, I don't know. She's hurt. She's dying.
Yeah.
In some sense. So she injects herself with it. The black goo then goes into the baby, as it did in Prometheus. She then gives birth instantly, as it kind of happens in Prometheus as well, because I presume this just speeds up the life cycle. Baby is born. And then in tradition of Alien, it grows super fast, super quick, into a 7-foot disgusting thing.
7 foot and the rest, mate. He was massive.
Okay. All right.
He's horrible.
7'1", and massive, disgusting alien thing, like all horrible rib cage throughout him and big holes on his back and big gangly, disgusting thing. But his face, I thought, was very reminiscent of the engineers from Prometheus.
100%. Yeah.
That's where I thought that it was looking more like. And when I first saw that, I was like, "That I don't like that." Not only because it's terrifying, but I didn't like it at first. But then on reflection, then I'm like, actually, it looks like one of the engineers. I like that kind of callback. I like how it's kind of bringing it back to Prometheus and Covenant as well. So I did enjoy it, even though it was terrifying.
Yeah, I picked up on the Prometheus reference with it right away. That the guy who plays it, interestingly, is a 7'7" basketball player. I don't know if you saw that.
Jesus, no, didn't know anything about it.
So now when I see this guy, because he has a very similar face to one of the engineers as well, the basketball player.
Oh yeah,
it's terrifying. Jeez. So I can never look at that guy ever again. So that monster, I'm going to call it a monster because it's the only word for it. That was terrifying. I didn't expect it. I didn't expect it to grow that much in that amount of time.
Yeah.
I thought it would be like big, but then again, the xenomorph grew super fast as well. And I've heard people complain about how quick these things grew, but it's Alien, and it's
a little thing called science, everyone, okay? Look it up sometime.
I have no problem with that. I thought it was great. The first time you see him in the background, like crouching down, I was like, nope, I'm done.
And then when you see him feeding on his mother as well afterwards, it's
God.
just fucking grim. Ugh. There was another scene, a very Alien throwback again of the classic chest burst. How did you get on with that?
I loved it, but I will say I really wish they didn't put it in the trailer for the movie. I knew what was going to happen to that character. It was very obvious it was the character with the shaved head, like what was going to happen.
Gotcha.
I thought it was amazingly done, and it looked incredible when it was happening. Unfortunate for her, but incredible for us. The sounds, I remember just the pounding on her chest, like the thumping noise. The violence of that scene was a little intense. Really well done. Yeah, fantastic throwback.
Yeah, good.
Best chest burst ever.
Bold.
All right, John, I'm going to read off some interesting trivias that I learned about Alien Romulus before and after the movie. Did you realize during the movie that when the course of the ship is corrected, the movie actually runs in real time? So when it says there's 40 minutes till collision, it was running from 40 minutes down towards the end of the movie then.
I read the same thing in the week as well, yeah. There's a couple of films that have done that in the past, and I love it when they're like, oh, there's 30 minutes till this place explodes. I'm like, okay, then you're like, oh, there's 5 minutes. Oh, there's still...
Yeah.
I mean, I was a fan of Dragon Ball Z growing up, and the planet Namek was supposed to blow up within 2 hours, and that spent about 16 episodes. So, you know,
Fair.
I appreciate it when things actually explode on time.
Yeah. Did you know they used the same special effects crew from Alien and Aliens?
Yeah, I read that they used some of the same crew, special effects crew from Aliens, and also some of the same crew from 3 and Resurrection as well.
Oh, interesting fact I'll throw in at this point, which I told you about last night, which blew my mind. I was working in the bar that I work in the other night, and this customer that usually comes in was sat with a bunch of friends who work on movies. And the next day, I was watching an interview about Alien Romulus and interviewing the cast and crew. And this guy pops up on the screen, and he's like creature supervisor or something. So that was pretty cool. Very small world, Vancouver movie scene.
You will be buying him his beer next time he comes in, I presume, so you can have a chat.
Yeah, I will be buying that guy a beer and trying to get a Xenomorph figurine.
Nice.
Alien Romulus has released exactly 45 years after the original Alien.
Yep. Which
so that was pretty cool.
Wild, yeah.
Yeah. And here's a little fact for you that I thought was cool. It's probably not going to resonate the same with you. Kay, the pregnant lady in this movie, is inspired by Fede Alvarez playing The Last of Us 2. And there's a character called Dina who is pregnant during the game. And it just so happens that Isabella Merced is playing Dina in The Last of Us 2 HBO series. Okay, so we're going to try this new feature. We've done it for the last couple of episodes, but we haven't really named it. I'm going to call it Elevator Movie Time. It's where it's where you, the listener or viewer, can send us a voice memo on socials. Give us a 2-minute breakdown of what you thought of the movie, if you've seen it. And if it's good, we'll feature it in the episode. So without further ado, this is my buddy Dan, who sent us this little 2-minute review.
Hey gentlemen, hope this makes air. It's always fun to talk movies, and I wanted to take this opportunity to give my thoughts about Alien Romulus. Now, I don't go out of my way to dump on films. It's like you either connect with it or you don't. And I think for myself, and I seem to be in the minority here, of why I didn't connect with this one to the point where I was almost upset. And truthfully, I walked out of the film chuckling because it had such a great premise and setup of being its own unique thing, and it lost its way when it tried to ham-fist in too much nostalgia and callbacks and things that reminded you of a better movie. And I just don't think that is the right way to go. And it's too bad because it had fantastic set pieces. It had some solid acting and some interesting characters. But where it dropped the ball was just leaning, I felt, too heavy on that, remember this? And for me, that's why I walked away just really let down by it. And I got pulled out of the movie. And that's just such a hard thing to recover from when you're sitting there immersed in it and then something happens and it pulls you out of it. And I felt that this film did it on more than one occasion. I can point to many examples, and I think the most egregious one was when you're sitting there in the theater, the pre-show, they spent so much time with the actors and director, little vignettes talking about how they put a real emphasis on practicality. And then a main focus character was a really bad deep fake from a legacy character in the film. Really disappointing. But hey, if people liked it, I think that's great. Like what you like. For me, it was a huge whiff. Anyways, thanks a lot, gentlemen. Enjoy your day.
Cool. So a bit of a different take from Dan. What do you think of that? What do you agree with? What do you not agree with?
So yeah, with Dan, I've touched upon the whole fan service that they put throughout. I enjoyed a lot of it, and I've touched upon the main two that I didn't enjoy. There was probably loads more that I missed, and stuff that I've read about that also other people would have missed as well, unless they're big nerds. Like apparently she's wearing the same trainers that Ripley was wearing, all that kind of stuff. But as I said, I'm for it. There's those two bits that didn't work for me, and like Dan mentioned with Ian Holm, terrible deepfake. Completely agree. It could have been done better, or just a different bot. But I was there for the fan service. I enjoyed it. In the same way that, like, when they've done similar things with Star Wars, with Force Awakens and such. Force Awakens is beat for beat New Hope with so much fan service. Still a good movie. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Dan's a big Star Wars fan, by the way.
Then did you enjoy the seventh movie, which I just forgot the name of, that I mentioned 30 seconds ago, Dan? Did you enjoy that fan service?
I actually don't think he did.
Then Dan, you may have an issue with fan service and nostalgia, okay? I get it. Joking, Dan. I'm sure you're a lovely guy.
And thanks for that. Really appreciate you sending us that little review there. I kind of agree with you, John. I love the fan service, but I can see how others wouldn't find it as enthralling. I didn't get when he said about the pre-show, all the vignettes and stuff. I didn't get to the movie on time, so I didn't see any of that. But I can see how that might kind of get your hopes up for something, and then it gets kind of dashed a little. Yeah, it's nice to hear another side of it. It was like when we did Longlegs last week. We weren't really a fan of that movie. I think it's important to hear, like, both sides.
And that's so weird that I still find about Longlegs, because it was a good concept. We've touched shut up Longlegs. If you want to know about that, go back.
Go listen to
it just gives me angry.
Get out of here.
Take your legs and fuck off.
I think it's important to hear both sides of the conversation, what you think was negative and why. So I really appreciate people like Dan sending us those reviews. So cheers, mate. All right, John, just sum up your final thoughts before we wrap this up.
So final thoughts on Alien Romulus are as follows. Really enjoyed it. I liked the aesthetic. I loved how it felt and looked like a 80s future movie, is an awkward sentence to say, but you completely understand what I mean. Mm-hmm. It was shot beautifully. The cinematography throughout was great. The use of light throughout was great. The pacing I loved. It did keep me on the edge of the seat. I was constantly, like, the anxiety in the cinema when I'm just like, throughout. There was always something happening. Really enjoyed that. Enjoyed the story. Loved the acting, as we've mentioned, from David Johnson. He was fantastic. Really enjoyed him. He blew me away with his uncanniness of, I 100% believed he was an android and not a human acting as an android. Like I was 100% in for that. The visuals were fantastic. The weird engineer alien baby was terrifying. overall, great movie. Would watch again. Looking forward to watching again. I love Aliens. Xenomorphs for the win. I give this movie 9 things out of 10 in the water.
All right. For me, all the same comments, really. The cassette futurism was fantastic. It really made the movie for me. Soundscape, everything, the actors, the plot itself, the monster design, that new monster, that abomination. Hated him, loved it. I have no real negatives other than that weird little AI on the guy's face. We've touched upon it a bunch, so I won't go on about that.
Yeah.
That's the only negative for me. Overall, I'd rate it higher than Prometheus and Covenant. Love those movies. I love us even more. Not as good as Alien and Aliens, obviously. That's an easy pick. For me, I would say this gets 9.5. Stay away from her, you bitches, out of 10.
Solid. I like it. So this has been episode 5 of Movie Time with the Boys, where we reviewed Alien Romulus. Thank you for listening and watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, wherever you have your podcasts. Please do the usual, like, subscribe, rate. Everything helps us out. If you have any suggestions, check our socials. We'll be putting things on there shortly, whether it be what film we should see next, or if you want to add your own elevator pitch. Thank you both to Kevin and Dan. And goodbye from myself, and goodbye from Luke.
So long, guys. Thank you.